My name is Augie Ghilarducci. I'm the founder and creator of Second Opportunity. I'd like to share with you my journey that led to the creation of the Second Opportunity Reentry Program. Second Opportunity Program wasn't born in a boardroom. It's based on my personal experience. I was incarcerated for 13 years. The entire time I worked in the education department, and my job was to create and instruct courses to fellow inmates. But I realized that there weren't enough quality courses available that focused on reentry. And that's what the intention is of the Second Opportunity Program. What we're going to share now is a section from our first course, A Path Forward. This focuses on communication skills, things that are essential for a job interview. And what this video is about is developing your own elevator pitch, a way for you to tell your story in a meaningful and convincing way for an employer. The elevator pitch. They tell me the name comes from being able to tell your story in the length of time it takes to ride the elevator, somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds. I think a good elevator pitch can be done in 30 seconds or so. The elevator pitch is what we want to be able to tell somebody to entice them to want to interview us and ultimately hire us. It's a synopsis of our background and experience. It's all about us. It's about what we're able to do. And it is expressed in a way that we let them know that we have confidence in who we are and what we can do so that they would be interested in learning more about us. So let's talk about some of the realities here. Talk about my reality. My reality is that I was incarcerated for a long period of time. That's a reality. And my opinion is that it's going to come out. I know it's going to come out. You can go to Google search and find out anything pretty much about anyone. So if a potential employer is going to find out what my background is, I want them to hear it from me. I don't want them to read it on some article. I don't want it to be because some coworker slips a note under the door. I want them to hear from me what my situation is, and there is nobody that tells my story better than I do. So the challenge then is to develop my story in a way that I'm able to tell it and tell it confidently and tell it in almost any situation. And with that having been said, let's talk about some of the key components of an elevator pitch. We want it to be persuasive. We want it to be something that they'll remember. We want to be able to share our skills and what we can do and what we've done. In order to get it to that point, we want to practice it. We want to keep it so that it's fresh all the time. If we take a new class, if we get involved in something different, we want to add that to our elevator pitch. We want to make sure that we mention what our goals are, what we're about. We want to speak directly to the person that we're communicating with, and I'll share mine with you and how that works. And so I tell people that, my name is Augie Ghilarducci, and I was raised in a good home by two terrific parents. I had good values. I understood right from wrong. I had my own financial company after I graduated school, and I successfully operated that for almost 15 years. But then I got involved with the wrong people. I made some horrible decisions and some bad choices. And for that, I went to federal prison for almost 13 years. But while I was away, I learned more about myself. One of the things I did is I got involved in the education department, and I actually developed a series of courses that I taught to fellow inmates. I was in a community outreach program, speaking to high schools, colleges, businesses about some of the failures of my decision process that they could use when they're challenged with different ethical things. And so as I sit in front of you today with the opportunity to work for your company, I want you to know that I'm better than I was before I went away. I have a better understanding of who I am, and I know the way that I can make an impact in a company if I'm given that opportunity. And that to me is an elevator pitch. And it's something that many years ago, I used to hire people, I'm sure dozens of people over the years. And when I'd have a heavy day of interviewing, there would always be one or two persons that I interviewed that stuck out in my head. And I think that that's what the objective is to be one of those people that when the interviewing person that goes home at night, he remembers, that guy came in and he told me the story. He was very honest with me, telling me about being locked up. And I think I want to talk to him again. So the purpose of the elevator pitch is not just to spout out your stuff, but to do it in a way that they remember you. And I think that greatly enhances the opportunity for you to be able to get called in and get into a serious interview for the job. I hope you enjoyed that section. Even more so, I hope that you can imagine yourself sitting in front of a potential employer delivering your elevator pitch, something that'll lead to that first job after release. This is what the Second Opportunity Program is all about, is providing information, knowledge, and skills to help us to navigate the reentry journey. What we're going to do now is share with you a section of the course called A Path to Financial Freedom. This focuses on the challenges of reentering society with all that goes along with getting back into the mainstream financial system. I want to talk now about budgeting and the importance of having a budget. Budgeting is really the process of creating a plan on how you're going to spend your money. We're going to divide into two different sections, income and expenses. Income is everything that comes in. So it's what we're paid by our employer. It's maybe if we've got investment income that comes in, maybe if we receive child support income, whatever it might be. And so we want to get all that put together. And then we really need to dig in on the expenses. And the thing about expenses is that they're constantly coming to us. Many are what we call fixed expenses that we can plan for them every month. If we know our rent is $750, we know that that's what we're going to have to spend that month. But there's a lot of things that are known as variable expenses. These are things that change from month to month. An example could be our groceries. We might spend a certain amount one month, but then the next month, because it's the holiday season, we spend more money because we're buying additional things for big family dinners. It could be our utility bills. So I was in Chicago, and the electric bill in the summer would be very high because we ran the air conditioner. But then in the winter, the electric bill would fall. On the other side, our gas bill in the winter would be very high because we ran the furnace constantly. And in the summer, the gas bill was, very low. So our variable expenses are the hard thing for us to really know, but we need to do a good job estimating based either upon what's actually happened. I can look back to last year's electric bill in the summer to see what I can forecast, or based upon the best estimates I can come up with when really trying to calculate things. So the idea of this budget is to end up with a spending plan, and a spending plan is designed to ensure that we have enough money to do the things that we want to do or that we need to do. So there are 7 steps to preparing a budget plan, 7 steps that we need to follow to do it thoroughly. And we started the first step a little while ago and we said establish our financial goals. So maybe our financial goals are that I want to save $200 a month. And as a financial goal, I now understand that whatever my income is, I have to spend $200 less than that in order to have that $200 that I can save. And so as we said, we need to, in the second step, identify our income and our expenses. And the third thing is very challenging. The third thing we say, we want to separate our needs from our wants. So I need a car to have transportation to go to work so I can bring home a paycheck. I want, however, the new 2020 Corvette. There's a big difference there. And so it's, especially as we're getting back on our feet, I found that it was a better situation to focus on what I really need. And we talk about this in values-aligned goal setting that you'll see. And what we talk about is we need to determine what resources are necessary to us and where we might be able to substitute something. So once you've put all this information together and separated your needs from your wants, you can design your budget. And when you design your budget, you can put the plan into action by spending money the way that you've outlined and by making sure the income is what you expected it would be. Remember to plan for your seasonal expenses. If you happen to have 2 children that both have birthdays in June, you're probably going to need a little extra money in June, so we want to plan for those types of things. And it's important to do a periodic review when we do our budget. The periodic review means we can check to make sure that our spending is along the lines of what we expected it would be. If we find that our spending is getting out of hand, then we probably need to, tighten the purse strings, as they say, to figure out where we can cut back on some things. So what we're going to ask you to do is look at these budgeting worksheets, which is a very organized way to examine everything we just discussed. We want to figure out the income from job, child support, unemployment benefits, whatever it might be. Then we want to look at our expenses, the big ones like our rent or our mortgage, car payment. We want to look at utilities. We want to look at all forms of insurance. We want to look at groceries, cost for health care. We want to get it down to the point where we actually estimate how much we're going to need for things like haircuts or to buy supplies for work, whatever those might be. And so now we've gotten it to that point. We've gone through our fixed and variable expenses, and we should be able to come up with a number that's reasonable. And wherever you're at right now in your situation, it's important to do this exercise because that really dictates the type of income you need to generate to live this life that you've got with your expenses. And if that means we're going to have to find some additional skills or education to qualify for a better paying job, then at least we go with our eyes wide open, understanding what it is we need to do. What we're going to share here is a section from the third course called Values Aligned Goal Setting. And this course is actually my personal favorite, not that it matters. But one of the reasons for that is it not only provides us with tools and knowledge for reentry, but it also shows us ways to be productive as we serve our sentence. Your bedrock goal. We started this at the end of part 1. We gave the example of a bedrock goal being the most important thing. We use as a specific example that an alcoholic's sobriety is probably their bedrock goal. So here's the questions that we ask to just start to establish that concept of a bedrock goal. Why is it your most important goal? Have you really put some thought into it to say, this is why it's so important to me? Are you passionate about it? Is it something that you really want to have happen, that you see as being important and vital in leading a happy life? And does it align with your values? Sometimes we're in conflict, right? We say one of the values that I have, or one of the things that I want to do, is spend a lot of time with my children, and then I establish a goal that says I want to get that promotion at work, meaning I've got to put in 80 hours a week. So we want to make sure that we're living our life in a fashion that everything aligns and links together. So I'd like to talk about the worksheets that we have that you'll fill out related to a number of different categories. And let's start with the bedrock goal. And what we're going to do is we're going to establish what it is. And once we write that down, that it's our most important thing, and we elaborate how it fits into an overall picture of our life, then we're able to start to break it down as to how do I go about achieving it? How do I pursue it? It is the goal on which everything else depends. So it's something that you should be able to see in some of your other goals, that they contribute to the bedrock goal. It's got to be something you really want, something that'll keep you up at night because you're excited at the thought of having it happen. It's got to be clear and specific. You know, while it might sound nice to say, as my bedrock goal, I want to be a better person, that's probably not enough to construct a path to actually make that happen. It's got to be believable and achievable. I've got to know in my heart that I can find a way to make this happen, that I'm able to make that goal a reality in my life. And it's got to be in harmony with my other goals. That, again, the bedrock goals should be seen throughout the building goals to some form or fashion that they coordinate together. The bedrock goal is a core concept of values-aligned goal setting. And once we put that in place, we run it through a test. And the test is, there's a guy that wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Dr. Stephen Covey. And what he says is begin with the end in mind. So as you think about your bedrock goal, here's the test. Close your eyes. Can you see yourself achieving it? If your bedrock goal is that you want to open a company, and you close your eyes, can you see what it looks like? Can you see what you've been able to accomplish? And if you can visualize that, that indicates to you that it's something that fits within what you really aspire to have happen and what you're capable of making happen. So if you look at those things, it's important to make sure that we buy in from an internal level. The next step in this is, there's an admiral, a Navy admiral, who was taken hostage during the Vietnam War, Admiral Stockdale. And he was a distinguished admiral, and he had a bunch of young naval officers with him, and they were taken hostage, and they were in deplorable conditions as far as food. There were, food and no plumbing, no ability to take showers or any other such thing. They were fighting for their lives. And they came up with the Stockdale paradox. And the Stockdale paradox is that we maintain unwavering faith that things are going to be better regardless of how they look today. And so, that once I learned of this Stockdale paradox, I thought about it a lot when I was locked up. Is that there were some days I thought this is never going to end, but I would continue to think in a positive fashion that things will get better. And so I encourage you to think about that and apply it if it will help you if you're going through a particularly difficult time. So now we're going to fill out the worksheet for the bedrock goal, and we provide extra worksheets so that you can do it multiple times if you need to get it right. And where you are today, you might be changing some of this stuff in 3 years, so you have the ability. You can come to our website, secondop.com, and we can certainly send you some additional worksheets. We're going to provide a section of the course titled A Path to Advanced Skills. And this course is all about different ways that we can acquire skills to allow us to get into high-paying jobs. Apprenticeships that are available inside of incarceration and on the outside, and then different fully funded programs that allow us to get skills for in-demand jobs. Everyone has skills and abilities in various parts of life, various things that they're able to do. Some they do really well because they've either had training at it, they've had experience at it, or both, or they have a natural ability or inclination to do that type of work. You know, in my experience, people that, are incarcerated, that struggle with substance abuse, that are out of the labor force for a while, through no necessarily fault of our own, but our skills can fall behind. Technology, there's different ways of doing things, there's entire new industries that spring up while we're not in the workforce. The world keeps moving, and it moves at a fast pace. If we don't deliberately develop skills to keep up with it, what we'll do is find ourselves at the entry level in the workforce, the entry level of the labor pool, which means that we've got to battle our way to get up to a living wage and be able to enjoy the benefits and perks that are provided to somebody that's in greater demand with the employer. In my situation, I knew I was going to be 57 years old when I left prison. I knew that I wasn't going to go back to the work that I had done before. I also knew that there were so many things that had changed in the workforce that and sometimes I had no idea where I'd get started. Technology, all the things that I might read about in a magazine or see on TV had been going on for a number of generations, actually. I had never touched a smartphone. I had never been involved with the computer, and I was amazed when I got out how fast it actually worked. So I knew I had to do something to develop some skills or something that I could bring to the workforce in order to allow me to get out and make a living and take care of my responsibilities. So what we want to do is walk through this as a process. The programs that we're offering through Second Opportunity, one of them, the advanced skill one that you're doing now, will help expose you to different things with the idea that if we raise awareness for you of what's available, there might be something or several things that catch your attention that you might be interested in doing. And by raising awareness, you can then look into how to pursue those things and what work you can do in your present situation in order to prepare to go on to an advanced skill path. So we use a program that's developed by the United States Department of Labor, and it's called the ONET suite of products. And ONET is really designed to help you to find what sort of an occupation or career is of interest to you. And so back in A Path Forward, there's a section in there where you fill out the ONET form, and that will then generate different career choices, things that may appeal to you, may inspire you. I understand the challenges and the barriers that we face when we get out, lack of network maybe, lack of transportation, other things. I will tell you that we recently sponsored a lunch and learn at a halfway house, and we brought in the Chicago City colleges. But by the way, there's community colleges throughout the country. And they offer programs that are federally funded that are for CDL, for auto mechanic, for diesel mechanic. They provide mentors, tutors. They have different services available for transportation, and they also have job placement. So these things are out there and available. We just need to figure out what we want to do and plug into them. The tools that are available to you can be used to map out a path. We can provide information through our website, through our app, as far as where you might find some of these training programs. And as you start to hone in on what you think your career interest might be, even if it's a number of items, I think there's 3 questions you want to ask yourself. Number 1 is this something I'll really enjoy doing? And then number 2 is, can you see yourself doing this for a long time? And then finally, is this a career that provides for advancement so I'll stay interested and continue to progress in my career? I hope you enjoyed this section on a path to advanced skills. You know, one of the things that bothered me when I got out and look back is how this information about all these wonderful training programs that are available to us, we didn't have the information on the inside. And that's what this course is about, is thinking about the type of things we might want to get into upon release that allow for us to qualify for good paying jobs that have benefits and allow us to get on with our lives. And what we have now is a section of a course called A Path to Higher Education. And it's especially relevant these days since Pell Grants are allowed for the currently incarcerated population that qualifies. So we talk about higher education, the value when we get out for getting better jobs, and also a great way to keep our mind engaged as we do our time. Let's take a minute and talk about the benefits of receiving higher education. And it goes beyond just meaningful employment, although that's certainly a motivator. But it's clear that those that take higher education programs or classes learn skills in critical thinking, communication, social skills, and they learn about time management. I like to say that it gives us an opportunity to set an example for others, especially younger people, our children, our nieces and nephews. And then when we look at it from the employment side, the average earnings for somebody that's taken some college is $774 a week, which is a little bit over $40,000 a year. The unemployment rate for people that have taken some college is approximately 4%. Those that have high school education or less, the average earnings are $619 a week, or $32,000 a year, with an unemployment rate of 11.7%. There's a significant difference. For those that were previously incarcerated, the unemployment rate is 27%, which is the highest of any segment of the population. A recent study that was done by the Bureau of Justice shows that 67% of people that release from prison are rearrested within 3 years of their release. That's 2 out of 3. And what's clear is that education can help to resolve some of that. There was a study done by the RAND Corporation that says that those that take higher education, the recidivism rate reduces by 43%, which is still too high, but it's a vast improvement. So wages in the job market are driven by supply and demand. Employers that have a demand for certain types of positions will pay more to fill those positions, and those are generally filled by people that have either higher education or advanced skills. And the reality of it is that we can determine and tailor our educational needs and how we will fill those needs if we do some research. So if you think what we've gone through with these programs, if you do the ONET, the profiler as we've talked about, and you realize that there's 4 or 5 different things that are of great interest to you, and you start to research what sort of educational requirements those positions have, then you can look and see what programs fulfill that. And it's not necessarily a 4-year program. In fact, as we're going to talk about as we go through this program, There are some certificates that are available for as little as 4 classes, which is something that can be done in less than a year. So when we talk about higher education to position ourselves, we have some control over that by determining what we're interested in doing and then finding out what sort of education is required. And if the education required by the idea of having to take 4 years of school is not comfortable for you, then we make some adjustments and find something where we might be able to get an associate's degree in 2 years or a certificate in 6 months. Those of us that have challenges due to backgrounds, or if we have work history that's spotty, or if we've been out of the labor market for a while for whatever reason, it's important that we show that we have something current to bring to the job marketplace. And to do something current could be taking an online class or a series of online classes where we're able to get a certificate for them, or at least show that we've taken those classes. And that shows that we have skills that are current in today's marketplace. Probably more than any other segment in the labor force, those of us that have been out of the labor force for a period of time, we need to demonstrate something in our resume, in our skill set that shows that it's current and relevant. I hope you enjoyed that section, and I hope you'll enjoy the entire course about higher education. There's so many different opportunities available due to online education, which gives us complete flexibility with our schedule. So if you take the time to go through the entire course, there might be some things that you decide you'd like to pursue either on the inside or upon release.